Luna, a 27-year-old elementary teacher, has been her family's financial backbone for 11 years, quietly paying loans, emergencies, and debts while they live beyond their means. After they refuse her help during a dental emergency and then publicly shame and exclude her, she discovers a trail of lies, signed IOUs, social posts showing lavish spending, and a credit card fraudulently opened in her name by her brother. With the help of lawyer Elena, Luna confronts them, freezes accounts, sues for repayment and fraud, and ultimately reclaims her money and dignity. The family fractures. Luna buys a modest home and finds peace. The kitchen light hummed over a sink full of enamel pans. Luna rinsed a chipped mug and wrapped her patience around another quiet morning. City bus, lunchbox, third-grade math. A small framed photo on the counter caught her eye. 10-year-old Luna in a bulky graduation gown, her smile pinned like a promise. She tucked it into her apron and walked out the door. Her classroom smelled like glue sticks and warm paper. She arranged tiny desks into a sunburst and placed a paper crown on the attendance board. At 27, Luna could teach fractions like a lullaby, name every dinosaur without stumbling, and count change with a kind of calm that made first graders feel safe. Today, she explained halves with apple slices, and when a boy's hand shot up, she offered the other half with a smile that didn't quite reach the corners of her mouth. That evening, the living room in her childhood home shimmered on her phone screen. A photo, her parents at a crowded restaurant table, laughter suspended in the middle of a toast. Tyler's shoulder draped in a tailored suit, his girlfriend's hand glinted with a ring. Tags. Family planning dinner. Luna left the notification in the shadows of her home screen for a long minute. At her parents' house, the air always smelled like cinnamon, a kind of domestic perfume that erased hard things. Her mother moved through the kitchen like a practiced stage manager, a wine glass in one hand and a list of favors in the other. "By the way," she said as Luna replenished a dish of mashed potatoes, voice slippery as syrup, "Tyler's venue needs deposits. We thought you could help. 10,000 should do it. You don't have kids, not a mortgage." Luna's hands paused midway through the motion. The words landed like ice. She looked up and found the practiced, patient faces she had stitched her life around. Her father, with his habitual jaw set, nodded as if the math were obvious. They always treated sacrifice as invisible arithmetic. What Luna gave would subtract from her but add to the family ledger, a ledger only they seemed able to read. She remembered her first paycheck at 16, a stack of crumpled bills, the mall's fluorescent lights etched in the memory. While her friends bought shoes, she taped dollar bills into an emergency envelope labeled family. The label had been a prayer that folded itself into habit. Over 11 years, habit became expectation. Luna's bedroom walls held no expensive things, but a thick accordion folder rested under her mattress. Handwritten IOUs, dates, amounts, signatures that feathered into bends of paper. That night, alone on the walk home, Luna opened the folder and scanned the careful loops of ink. Each line was a tether. Somewhere between loan and help, she had started keeping score in the margins. She respected herself by documenting the invisible. The receipts were quiet witnesses, dates aligned to nights she'd eaten ramen while her brother posted photos of a new car, timestamps clashing like accusations. She laid the papers out on her small kitchen table under the washer's light. The stack made a sound like rain. She told herself she was doing the right thing, she was family. But as the moon tilted through her blinds, something in her tightened. The ledger didn't just record money. It recorded a slow, persistent erasure of her needs. Tonight the papers whispered a possibility, one that sounded dangerous and liberation-shaped. What if being kind also meant keeping back a part of herself? Outside, the neighbor's television drifted the hum of a late-night commercial. Luna ran a thumb along the edge of an IOU, feeling the indentations of writing like a county of small betrayals. For the first time in a long while, she didn't fold the paper into a drawer. She kept it spread across the table like a map. The dentist's office smelled of antiseptic and worry. Luna sat in a vinyl chair, her cheeks swollen and hot, the pain mapping a crescent along her jaw. The assistant's eyes flicked to the clipboard, then to the payment terminal. "It'll be $3,200 up front," the receptionist said, like a fact not expecting a debate. She called her mother from the parking lot, the car heater humming. "I hate to ask," Luna said, each word measured. She could hear the family calendar in the background, Tyler's tux fitting, a calendar ping. "We're a bit tight right now," her mother replied after a beat. "Can't you just put it on a card?" A new BMW eased into her parents' driveway the next day, sunlight sliding over chrome like a wink. Luna watched from across the street as Tyler and his fiancée unloaded champagne flutes from the trunk. The contrast might have looked like coincidence, except this particular brand of coincidence had a pattern. She had lent Tyler $5,000 last year for investment capital. She had helped with property taxes, car repairs, emergency dental visits, 3 decades of favors condensed and expected into a single, quiet demand. At Sunday dinner, she tried to be the daughter who reminded her mother gently. "About the $5,000 for the roof," she said, passing the mashed potatoes. Her mother's hand trembled for a moment as she set down her wine glass, then softened into a sugar-sweet lectern. "That was your contribution to the family," she said. Her father's fork paused midair. "We raised you," he added, calm as doctrine. The words hit like elbows, invisible, necessary, unavoidable. After the meal, Luna's phone lit with an Instagram grid she knew by heart. Pictures from a planning dinner draped across the screen like a party she hadn't been invited to mourn. She texted, "What dinner was this?" A quick reply, "Just immediate family and close friends." Her fingers hovered. "But I'm immediate family," she wrote. "You know what I mean, Luna," her mother answered. The response wasn't a denial so much as an erasure. A week later at the neighborhood barbecue, her mother spoke of Luna to the neighbors as if it were the weather. "Luna's having money troubles again. Bless her heart." Faces around the grill looked at Luna the way one looks at a small, flickering flame, with cautious pity. She felt suddenly exposed, a kindly spectacle. The humiliation lodged itself like a stone. She began collecting, not out of spite, but out of a sense that truth needed witnesses. Every text, every bank transfer, date-stamped screenshots of dinners, and watch receipts. She made a spreadsheet, a quiet litany of amounts that formed a ledger of small, steady thefts. The spreadsheet grew into a map she could follow when the fog of family rhetoric rolled in. "We don't keep score," they would say, turning indebtedness into moral high ground. One evening, as rain smeared the city glass, Luna found a digital receipt that matched the date she'd wired $10,000 for overdue property taxes. Dad's online account showed a purchase, an expensive watch. The timing made her stomach lurch. It wasn't merely carelessness. It looked deliberate. She met with Elena Martinez in a neat, sunlit law office that smelled faintly of lemon polish. Elena listened without gasping, her fingers drumming on a pad as she flipped through printed IOUs and bank statements. "This isn't generosity gone wrong," Elena said, her voice measured. "This is a pattern of financial exploitation." The label, financial abuse, landed hard and precise. It gave a name to the ache that had been anonymous for years. Luna didn't feel triumphant. She felt exposed in a new way, as someone who had kept giving until there was nothing left to give. Elena's method was procedural: compile, file, confront. It felt clinical, almost antiseptic, a sharp counter to the sticky family scenes she'd lived. Still, there was a quiet thrill in the plan. The ledger might become something more than memory. It might become leverage. When she walked back to her small apartment, the city lights stitched along the horizon like stitches closing a wound. She folded her folder of IOUs and tucked them into the pocket of her coat, like carrying a talisman. Something that had always been silent inside her, the part that counted and cataloged and waited, straightened. The discovery came as an ordinary notification, a credit alert with a number that tasted wrong. It was a detail that might have been missed in the deluge of adult life. A late fee here, a default there. Except the name on the card matched Luna's exactly. Elena pulled the report and scanned it like a detective reading someone else's handwriting. Tyler had opened a credit card in Luna's name years earlier, in a time she'd slept on their couch between jobs. He'd used it for months. Missed payments and overlimit fees had bled through her credit score for years, unseen and unnamed. The sum was not minor. The pattern of use tracked with photos Luna had cataloged, new gadgets, weekend trips, a sudden burst of luxury. "What you're looking at," Elena said, "is identity theft with a familial face." The office grew quiet. The term brother and the term criminal did not usually share air. Luna stared at the printout and felt an odd detachment, as if reading a stranger's obituary. She replayed the years in a new chronology. The IOUs were no longer documents of trust, but scaffolding for deception. Every urgent call they'd placed, "We're behind on taxes," now synced with a social media post showing lunch at a pricey restaurant. Dates matched. The ledger that once felt like a private record now looked like evidence in a criminal file. That night she walked the city with the credit report in her coat, like contraband. Rain had slicked the sidewalks into mirrors. Neon signs blurred into long smears of color. She remembered Tyler teaching her to roll dice across a worn kitchen table when they were kids, laughing. Somewhere along the line, the game had mutated into stacking chips on a practice bluff. She should have recognized his body language earlier. The quick smiles when money was in play, the way he looked away when debt was mentioned. She called him. He picked up, his voice casual. "Hey, Luna. What's up?" She felt bizarrely formal when she addressed him. "Do you know anything about a credit card in my name?" The silence that followed sounded like the space between a consonant and a vowel, waiting to be filled. Tyler's first answers were stumbles. "Maybe when you stayed here that one summer," he offered. "I thought I could manage it." The language was soft and slippery. Guilt had a shape like a loose scarf. But the numbers were solid. 12,000 in charges, 2 years of missed payments. It wasn't negligence. It was theft. Elena drafted cease and desist letters and a motion to freeze accounts pending investigation. The plan required strategy and timing. Elena wanted to serve notices in a way that minimized the ability to shift funds away. "We go public with the facts at the family meeting," she said. "We freeze the bank accounts the day before so they can't move money." Legal moves were chess moves, each one necessitating patience and precision. Then came the text from Dad. "Family meeting Sunday. Be there." The message landed with the casual authority of someone unaware they were stepping onto the stage. Luna felt something like clarity and adrenaline braided together. For years she had rehearsed replies, excuses, and payments. Now she rehearsed for a different role. Not the giver, but the plaintiff. The week before the meeting, she made preparations with the meticulousness of someone who had kept paper trails as quiet protest for a decade. Bank statements printed. Screenshots time-stamped. Receipts bound with a paperclip. She practiced how to speak without letting the howl in her throat bubble to the surface. She wrote phrases on index cards. These were loans, not gifts. "You signed these. Family does not steal." On the morning of the meeting, Luna dressed not for battle, but for truth. Her coat zipped around her like armor. The IOU folder lay heavy beneath the armrest of the car. Elena sat beside her, a quiet hum of confidence. As they pulled into the driveway, Luna felt the air shift, as if the house itself knew a new chapter was starting. She straightened, opened the car door, and felt a steadiness she hadn't expected. The line between daughter and plaintiff had never felt so clear. The living room looked unchanged, the same beige couch, the same framed family portraits. But as Luna and Elena stepped inside, the air around the coffee table felt charged, as if history had assembled itself on those cushions. Her parents, faces practiced into a comfortable judgment, sat with the ease of people who had always expected compliance. Tyler scrolled, then snapped the phone into his pocket when he saw Elena. "Sit," her mother said, and Luna noted the old command felt tinny in the face of legal formality. Luna stood. She was ready. Elena set down her briefcase with a soft authority. She opened it and arranged the documents like an offering. "We need to talk about the $32,476 you owe my client," she said, voice level but absolute. The number